Good morning, everybody, and got another weather system to cover this morning. A lot of things to talk about. So, up here in the Northeast this morning, I'm checking out the weather system that's going to be passing through the Northwest or the Northeast and New England and things like that. We got a big weather system coming through here, and so this is the weather plume that's going to be going through. Got a lot of mid-level and low-level moisture and dew points that are going to be happening here. A little bit of weak instability in wind fields at low levels in some of these places, so it might destabilize any kind of cyclonic flow or anything like that with tornadic systems that's going on. But this thing is it's pushing off a little bit to the northeast, but it's also going to be pushing east as well. So this is why they have that slight risk that is right here that you see here. And that slight risk is the highest area where you're going to get the probability for possibly some spin-up tornadoes that might form, as well as wind threat and possibly some hail there too. Throughout this entire warning zone, there is going to be heavy winds. There's going to be, some wind advisories with this as well. And there is also some flood risk going on in here because of torrential rainfall amounts. That's going to be pushing through here. So you got this warm front that's pushing through right now. And this is that chord system with that, that cold front that's going to be pushing through. So that warm front just pushed through. It makes things a little bit warmer than it usually is. It's about 60s, somewhere around there in these areas right now. So it's a little warmer than anticipated. But it's going to cool down after the cold front kind of pushes through and gets through us. So today, through the afternoon into kind of this evening, it's going to be pushing through this entire northeast region right here. And you see this nice straight line of storms that's going to be kind of pushing through. And I can show you a little bit on the models. I was looking at the models last night, and it looks like everything is going to stay moderately subsevere until it gets to this area. That's where it's gonna run into this patch of more unstable atmosphere. You know what I mean? You're getting unstable air, getting low-level moisture, you're getting, some of those ascents and those stuff like that, to kind of develop those renegade cells, run away, and, to the east. And so that's what we're kind of looking at, especially in the southern portion of what would be this line right here now. And so as that pushes through, that line is going to, kind of make a thin line of storms. It's going to be pushing through this area, and that's where you're going to get those isolated cells and those possibility for spin-up tornadoes and things like that. Seems like they're going to stay relatively, by the models anyways, it seems like they, everything would stay moderately low on the scale, but still, enough to possibly do some damage, some personal injury, some things like that. So it's a weather aware day, you know what I mean? Just to keep an eye on the system as it travels along this afternoon, late afternoon into the evening hours, and then it's going to push out past that and we'll be clear. And then after that, it seems like it clears up the next few days, which is kind of nice, you know what I mean? Might get some sunshine, not too much rain, everything clears up, you can have some nice days. That'll be pretty good. So this cold front is pushing this whole system through. You still got some cells that are, and some storms that are building up along the southern edge of it. Still got some stuff out in the Midwest as well going on. Got a marginal risk over there by San Angelo. And this tropical system here that's moving through. And this is upgraded to a 50% chance of formation now with all of this stuff here that's moving through the southeast. And you can kind of see a little bit of that rotation that's in that, you know what I mean? So it is, trying to develop. And that's another thing that weather professionals are just kind of keeping an eye on. Because with this, you're going to have regardless, you're going to have some torrential rainfall amounts. They got that marginal risk that's right here around Tallahassee and the Florida Panhandle going up into southern Georgia. And even kind of in the corner there near Valdosta. And they might issue some more tomorrow. I'll have to look at, I didn't look at the convection outlooks for day 2 and 3. But we'll take a look at that. And so you can see the lightning attributed with that. Some building thunderstorms out of this. Torrential rainfall amounts, possibly some flooding hazards that could be attributed with this. And high winds maybe too. So definitely something to look for. Got a couple fronts that are moving through in North Carolina and South Carolina. You get some building storms going on there as well. I don't see too much risk with those. Not as much as what we're seeing in the Northeast. That's kind of, the big show for the day here, in the big question here. So as it moves through the New England, the eastern New York and New England areas here, then you're going to have these building storms that are just going to kind of intensify in some of that lower grade unstable atmosphere. That's just going to kind of build a little bit of strength to intensify with those. All right, so that being said, let's move on. Okay, so this is that convection outlook that I was telling you about. That's right, kind of centralized over New England and eastern New York there, and then that 2% marginal risk for high or damaging winds and torrential rainfall amounts, things like that. And that's the current radar look. There is the cold front there. Low pressure system up there in Canada. That's going to be moving through northern Canada, going through Ontario to Quebec, and then low pressure system down further, kind of in the Midwest there, going through Kentucky, Tennessee, all that stuff as it pushes east. All right, so this little kind of join with the warm front and the cold front, you know what I mean? In between here, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of things going on, so there's going to be some high winds aloft with those as well, being tossed, going as it goes and continues to the east. And so the cold front's just kind of pushing it east, while the warm front's just kind of lifting it northeast. You know what I mean? And then gradually just pushing everything up. And so there's a lot of forcing and going on with the storm. So with these storms that are coming through, so there's going to be a lot of winds and definitely some torrential rainfall amounts, and possibly some hail threat, especially in those slight risk areas. Now you can see the temperatures here: 71, 66 up in New York, 64 way up in Vermont. We're a little bit warmer than usual right now, and it could have been that warm front that passed through that just kind of warmed things up a little bit, and that's not going to do very good for the atmosphere. It's going to kind of make things a little bit more unstable for right now. And then after the storms, when that cold front pushes through, it should cool down, be a little bit breezy afterwards. And it's going to be breezy today and tomorrow probably a little bit anyways. But, once those temperatures cool down, it'll feel a lot better, clear up, with some nice high pressure. Got some dew points up near 60s. So those dew points are going to make things kind of moist and kind of wet for the atmosphere there. A little bit of instability is attributed with that as well. So you can see these CAPE levels, not too bad, not staggeringly or horrible, but we do have some 1,000 level CAPEs here. But I have seen severe weather and tornadoes drop in 50 levels of CAPE. You know what I mean? 50 millibars of CAPE, anywhere from that to 3,000 or 6,000. You know what I mean in CAPE. So it's kind of up in the air, and it's kind of a mystery at that as well. So we do have some instability going through here. Wind shear is the biggest factor that's going on with this. We already got 50, 60. Not wind shear that's going through the northeast as as this whole thing kind of blows over here, going to the east through New England and upstate New York, going across the northern Appalachians, and it's got some surface and vorticity that's going to be behind this as well, mostly attributed with the cold front as this pushes the system out to the east. All right, so a little bit of cells building, a little bit of cell development that's going on here. You can see a little, kind of isolated bits of supercell and convection levels that are going to be going through here. Tornado parameter is very low right now, but that could change as we go later on through the day, and these storms actually, they'll start to kind of turn like a wheel, you know what I mean? And then you'll see it kind of go to the east with this nice, squall line of storms. It's going to be pulling through, and it's going to be a little bit on the in that slight risk going across that in mostly mid to southern New York, and then down into Virginia and the the New England region, that region of that slight risk that they're talking about. And it's in that line of storms that you might have some supercells embedded with that, that could spin up some severe weather with that as well. The helicity levels are not really that high, so that's a good thing. But then you could see that lifting condensation at 500s that's moving through, and that's where the storm is right now. So that lifting condensation naturally is pretty low right now. And that's going to change as this storm continues along. You're going to see that just the same way. You're going to see it just kind of, shift like a wheel, and it's just going to drag across to the east. And that's when you get that higher concentration of severe weather in that. All right, so this is the storm predictions slight risk area, their convection warnings that they put out. So you can see in that slight risk, this is the highest chance of where you're going to see some of that severe weather that's going to happen today. And that's that that wagon wheel kind of formation where it's going to just drag this big line of storms going across, where you might have some supercells embedded in that. All right, and then tomorrow it just looks like general thunderstorms, or general just rain. You know what I mean? Just nothing really severe on that level anyways. It seems like it clears up pretty nicely in the day 3 outlook. Then we might have another system coming through the west that may intensify as it drags across the east. We'll just have to watch how that develops. But anyways, also looking at the hurricane. All right, sitting there at Category 3 right now, but set to later on today around 6 p.m. to be reduced to a Category 2. Excuse me. And as it kind of comes up, the closest that it will to the eastern U.S., and it's going to be reduced to a Category 2 and then make that turn. And as it goes into these cooler waters and these, he's going to go through these cold fronts and things like that, will be eventually reduced to a Category 1. But still doesn't limit any of the risk for Newfoundland up there, for St. John's. That is pretty much smack dab right in the middle of it. So I hope that everybody there is prepared and stay safe as this is coming. And it's a major hurricane right now, but even at Category 1, that still can do a whole lot of damage. I just hope everybody stay safe with that, and then it heads on up to Greenland and Iceland from there. So as it makes this turn and this kind of bowing, structure right here on this side, not really going to affect the U.S. coast that much as far as weather is concerned, but as I've mentioned it in previous videos, high surf and high rip currents that could be life-threatening is primarily the biggest threat, the biggest worry with that. So it's just out in the water that is the highest risk for that as far as effects from the hurricane directly. All right, pivotal weather. This is our hazard outlook, and you can see that green warning for flash flood watch. That's going to be in effect for that portion of New England right there, and that's for that very, very heavy. It's not going to be rain throughout it. It's not going to be constant throughout rain, but you're going to have periods throughout pretty much all of the Northeast today where it's going to be, periods of very heavy downpours. Excuse me. So you do have that flash flood watch that is in effect because of those rainfall amounts that could be up to 3 inches an hour, somewhere around there, 3.125 or 25, 3¼ inches of rain an hour. So, and then we got the heat advisories out west. So if you're out west watching, try to stay cool. There's a lot going on out there, and I don't know how you guys do with it, but try to do the best you can to be safe out there, especially with the heat warnings and the fires going on. I feel for you. Hope everybody stays safe. All right, going to the models. Now, I looked at GFS last night, as well as the high resolution model here. And I'll show you a little bit about, because this shows you a little bit accurately, a little bit more accurately than the NAM of what is going on, and we're able to pinpoint it a little better. So as this kind of comes along, then you can see these storms just taking off to the northeast, and then as they take to the northeast, then you can see a little bit of that development on the southern edge right there, and this is just going off into Canada here. And then it starts to de-intensify as it goes into Canada. So if you are up here in Canada, don't worry. Just looks like, rain, just, traditional rain, not a whole lot with that. But it's when you see these little isolated kind of cells popping up and everything, and they're very isolated right there, that's where you got to worry, because that's when you get some mesocyclones that'll pop up, some supercells that'll develop as this continues along into that so to speak, danger zone of convection right there. All right, so as it forms along, you see these cells popping up. Subsevere at this point, but then you see this nice thin line of storms that's going to be coming up. And I'll show you what it does here in a minute as it develops. You can see that line just kind of developing into this big squall line of storms right there, and that just develops and it intensifies. Then you got this big line of storms right here, just big and wide, and that's where you're going to get some of those embedded storms in there that could be on the severe levels. Just ahead of the line, if we take a look at some of the atmospherics that's going on, you can see that marginal severe risk. And wind field is pretty stable at this point. It's nice and straight. It's organized. Got pretty much no cap. Cap is nice and broken on that. A lot of moisture going up into the atmosphere. So that's going to be supportive for a lot of those storms. And that is all that I get on HRR. So I'm going to go back to, we'll go to the GFS model for right now and continue on where we left off. And then as this drags across, this is the portion right here where and this isn't showing you as accurately as the high resolution model, which will update later on. It updates, I can't remember. I think it's like every 60 minutes or something like that. But anyways, so it will update the HRR model. I'll check later on just to see how it develops from here. But if we take a little click just ahead of the storm lines, yeah, it doesn't really show us much on the GFS, but that's where you're going to get these kind of spotty isolated cells that are going to pop up that could be on the severe levels. And that's where you might get your tornado threat. That's where you might get some of that. We'll go to the NAM model. And like I said before, the NAM model always shows things a little bit worse than they actually are. It's almost like it presumes, I always say that the NAM model is like the model that kind of plans for the worst but hopes for the best. So you can see that stable wind field in the NAM that's kind of going through here. And when you have that nice curvature there, that nice stable wind field, that's when you can get some of those spin-ups and some of that rotation that's going on in these storms. Cap is broken. A lot of that moisture going up into the atmosphere. We already got some, some heat and warmth going up there through the warm sector. As the warm front comes across, those temperatures a little higher, dew points are a little bit higher, and LCL is low. So that's where that tornado threat is going to be there. Significant hail threat, weak supercell development, which is relatively on the low end. And that's why I just say, if it looks terrible on the NAM, then it's not going to be as bad. You know what I mean? But it definitely doesn't remove the danger. So nice stable wind field here. Got some spike of moisture going up in the air above 1 kilometer. About 1.5, somewhere around there, it looks like. And then that heat kind of, you see a little bit of heat that's just kind of jumping up there. And there is some heat and some moisture going up there. So that's a good thing for storm development. And then we see these kind of popping up isolated cells here. Let's take a look right there on eastern Pennsylvania there. You get that marginal tornado risk. A lot of moisture with this one. LCL is really low. Stable wind field, and that's really one of the biggest important things with that. So there is that possibility for some severity with these storms today, but I don't think it's going to be horrible. Okay, so that's what they were talking about there. They said that there was some disturbance in the wind fields here. There's a little bit of disturbance in those wind fields. They look relatively stable, but there's, right at surface level, it seems like there's a little bit of that instability in those wind fields there. So that might be the reason for the severe risk versus the marginal tornado or tornado risk. Still a lot of moisture, though, that's going up with those higher dew points that's going on. So, and then eventually this thing just kind of moves off the corner of the country, and then eventually just it seems like it just takes off to the northeast, which at that point it should start to de-intensify a little bit and start to weaken. It still has to go through New England and Maine. At that point, so you're still getting marginal tornado risk, wind fields disturbed on the surface level, and the cap seems to come back a little bit. So that's a good thing. And as it goes to remain, and I think the temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler up there, so I think that's going to be the reason for its instability. You can see the hurricane right there that's popping up there as it kind of continues along, and we're going into the next couple of days now. This isn't all just today. And then rain showers and some downpours that are still going to be kind of coming through as it kind of goes through Maine. Get this little, it seems like a little spike, a little bit of that curvature there. Got that storm structure there that might bring up some higher winds. But it doesn't look relatively that bad. I think it's just going to be rain. And that's all that it looks like when it gets after this point. So that's a brief look at what's going on today. So we just have to be mindful of the severe risk for today, and I hope everybody stays safe and just be weather aware. Listen to your local meteorologists, and listen to their storm warnings. Make sure you have a plan in place for your family, some equipment set up and things if you lose power or anything like that. I know the storms that hit Michigan yesterday, a lot of people out of power, a little bit of damage. They didn't end up too bad, and I hope everybody's all right. But there was people out there that lost, a lot of people out there that lost power for quite a while. So even at the lowest risk possible, you know what I mean? Just plan for some power outages, plan for some flooding, and things like that, and definitely for the tornado risk, if there is going to be any, just pay attention to all the warnings. There could be, I guarantee by the time that this gets into this marginal risk here, there's probably going to be some severe thunderstorms that are going to be rolling out even before it gets into this slight risk zone. So you want to be prepared for that, and you should treat a severe thunderstorm the same as you would a tornado warning. Just, there's no confirmed tornado, but, with severe thunderstorm warning, a lot of times the National Weather Service will put out a severe thunderstorm warning if they do see rotation in the velocity radar, but it isn't significant enough for them to warrant a tornado risk or a tornado warning. So that's something you want to look at, you know what I mean? Just keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, they got a severe thunderstorm warning out. That means that we got hail, we got torrential rainfall, we got thunder and lightning, we got possibly some rotation that's going on embedded in those cells, and maybe it's just not significant enough for them to tornado warn. But they could, you know what I mean? It's been 1,000 times that I've seen severe thunderstorms quickly be upgraded to tornado warnings just because they're just, that rotation just kind of intensifies and it picks up, especially in this patch of, very unstable air and atmosphere that's going on in here. It could be a very, very quick thing. So you just want to be prepared. So anyways, I hope everybody stays safe today. And despite the rain and the storms and everything, I hope everybody has a good day. And hope all the kids are safe at school, and have a great day, and I'll do another update as soon as I get more information on what is going on. Thanks for joining me, and have a great day.